All the legal drama. There is more surrounding Donald Trump, looking specifically now at the election interference case in Georgia, where sources tell CNN some of the defense lawyers in that case are considering asking the court for a gag order against Fulton County DA Fani Willis. Willis has spoken at length about the case to the media and in other public appearances, and has been scolded by the judge in the case for making racially charged comments about it. CNN's Sarah Murray is tracking this for us and joins us now with more. So there are these specific comments. Which comments in particular are defense attorneys saying are really grounds here for a gag order in their view?
I think there's this overall sense of concern about how much she has been talking about the case publicly. You know, it's an interesting position because Fani Willis is up for re-election this year at the same time that she is prosecuting this Trump case. So she needs to be out in the community, you know, sort of making herself visible, making her presence known. But defendants have been really uncomfortable with the kinds of things that she is saying, particularly bringing up race related to the case. One of the things that she said back in January, giving a speech to a church, actually came up in this effort to disqualify Fani Willis from the case. And when Judge Scott McAfee, who's presiding over this case, was considering whether to disqualify Willis because of her comments, because of her romantic relationship with another prosecutor, he decided not to disqualify her, but he all but invited defendants to essentially ask for a gag order. He said some of the comments Willis has made publicly are legally improper, and basically said that the comments she made could be damaging to the reputation of defendants and could suggest, you know, that they are doing something ahead of their trial other than just trying to, you know, prepare themselves, file pretrial motions, sort of present the defense that they're allowed to present. So that's why we're seeing these defendants consider, you know, look, should we go to this judge? Should we ask for a gag order? The trick is there are a lot of defendants who still want to see Fani Willis removed from the case. So they don't necessarily want to ask for a gag order while they're still trying to have her removed, while they wait to see if an appeals court will take this up. And, you know, there are plenty of defendants who talk publicly about Fani Willis. Donald Trump is one of them. Rudy Giuliani is one of them. And so they don't want to be in a position where they move forward and ask for a gag order and it boomerangs back around and the judge says, okay, nobody can talk about the case.
Yeah, some ways be careful what you wish for, right? What about the DA herself and these claims, right, which have been made for some time, that she does talk too much about the case?
Yeah, I think the district attorney's office feels like she's allowed to talk about certain things related to the case. She's allowed to say we're moving forward. She's allowed to sort of explain to the public where they are in such an important monumental case, especially because she's running for re-election and she needs to sort of tell her voters what she's doing for them. And this obviously isn't the only case on her docket. There's plenty of other things she can campaign on. But I think the district attorney's office feels like they are well within their rights to make some comments. She's not going out there and prejudging the guilt of the defendants.
Sarah Murray, good to see you. Thank you.
There's a new angle in the multiple trials of former President Trump. Could there be a gag order coming, not for defendant Trump, but for prosecutor Fani Willis? She's the Fulton County DA accusing him of 2020 election subversion and racketeering. And sources say lawyers for several of Trump's co-defendants in the investigation are mulling over whether to seek a gag order against Willis, who has continued to speak publicly about the case. We have CNN legal analyst and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Elliot Williams here to talk about this. We'll talk a little bit in a second about some of the comments that she's made here recently. But first, I just wonder if you think this would be a smart move for Trump and other defendants to pursue, or is this something that could actually kind of backfire, maybe swing right back at them?
Right back at them. Turnabout is fair play. And there's a couple reasons why it's probably not a great idea for Trump and his team. Number one, they are trying to get her removed from the case on account of some of her behavior and statements and so on. If in fact they get a gag order that silences her, that takes away all their, or a big part of their reason for getting her off the case in the first place. That's number one. Number two is, you open the door to a gag order against former President Trump as well, you know, because all the parties here, including the judge who is himself running for office, they're all out speaking about this case. So if they put a gag order in place on her, they ought to put one on Donald Trump as well. And I just think if you're a defense attorney, they're really weighing this, and it's probably not a great idea.
Let's talk about something that McAfee's ruling said at a recent awards event. This is what Fani Willis said. This is what the judge said. Recently, they tell me, or this is what Willis said. I'm so sorry. I'm going to do this whole segment myself without letting you weigh in, apparently. Okay, so recently they tell me they don't like me to talk about race. And this is what she told a crowd. Well, I'm going to talk about it anyway. And I wonder how you think the judge sees that, because most recently in his ruling, he basically said, hey, a gag order isn't what is before the court right now. However, it might be time for one.
She's allowed to talk about race. Now, the question is she calling a party to the proceedings racist? Is she calling something, do her comments in some way touch on the substance of the proceeding? And I think people hear the word race and sort of their ears prick up and think that she's inherently saying something problematic. The rule is, and when we're talking about gag orders and things that are permissible, is the judge saying something that will impede a party's ability to get the fair administration of justice? And when you start talking about race, that's a little bit of a gray area. Now, look, I'll be the first to say that everyone in this case, including that prosecutor, is guilty of probably going too far and saying things they shouldn't have about the other parties and about the judge and the court and so on. But I just think all this sensitivity around talking about race, I think, is a little bit much here.
The judge has also spoken
Yes.
publicly. Let's remind people, he's spoken publicly multiple times. And I know a lot of legal observers look and say, I really wonder if he would have done that if he weren't facing an election, because she is as well.
I think that's the dark side. This is my personal view.
Tell us the
frankly,
dark side.
As a citizen, the dark side of judges being elected in races. They are running for office just like district attorneys and, frankly, presidents are. They're accountable to voters too, in a way that appointed judges are not. And he is going to be out on the campaign trail talking and speaking, and he has an interest in being seen a certain way by the public in this trial as well.
So far, he's been seen as pretty good.
He has,
but I think
yeah.
speaking publicly has sort of raised some eyebrows. All of this talking that is going on, what does it do to the politicization of the trial and to the legitimacy with which people are going to view the outcome?
The great challenge, Brianna, is that one, we in America enjoy the right to speak. Candidates enjoy the right to speak. It comes, many people think, from God as written into our Constitution, and that's frankly a good thing. We also have an open court system, and those two things come in conflict, and they really are here. Judges and law professors have struggled with these issues quite a bit. They need to be allowed to speak and speak their minds about other candidates and, frankly, about the system, but not at the cost of messing up somebody's trial, even a former president that many people take some issue with. So, if I had the answer today, I'd be a much richer man. I don't think anybody does, but it's a very, very narrow line that both Judge McAfee and, frankly, higher courts that review this are going to have to sort out.
We'll have to see what happens with this potential gag order or not. Elliot, always great to have you. Thank you.
So Sarah Murray is reporting the Trump allies are pushing for a gag order against Fani Willis in the Georgia case. Now, that's quite choice, right? Given the gag order situation out there. He's got multiple gag orders that he's been dealing with, and he slams them all the time, sort of upping the ante on the whole concept of gag order. I mean, just listen to these.
A judge put on a gag order. I'll be the only politician in history that runs with a gag order where I'm not allowed to criticize people. Can you imagine this? Do you believe this? You saw yesterday where they take away my right to speak. A judge gave a gag order today. Did you hear that? On speech, which I believe is totally unconstitutional.
And then he keeps upping the ante in terms of the things that he says. I guess the question, Alyssa, is he going to push these orders to the limit, try to force one of these judges to go ahead? See if you're too scared to put me in jail.
This is rank hypocrisy on full display, but what Donald Trump has proved a master of in these numerous trials is that he is going to use the legal system and take it as far as he can, and he's got the resources to do it. The average citizen wouldn't be able to delay the way that he has, but because he has the resources, he can do it. He's pushed the limit on what he's saying, and listen, Fani Willis has hardly covered herself in glory in this, but I would have a hard time arguing that anything she has said is anything near the attacks that she's faced by him and his supporters.